Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Train Station. As always, I am your host, A-Train, and we're going to be talking about part 3 of the series. This time, the NFC South. Arguably one of the worst, if not the worst, division in football expected this year. A lot of trouble going on in the NFC South. Rebuilds everywhere, which is a great time to do it, especially when the rest of the division wants to do it at the same time. So let's get into it. Let's start with who I think will finish dead last, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While they have the talent there, with Mike Evans and Godwin and all those guys still, defensively they have some trouble. And they need to figure out their quarterback. They have Baker Mayfield on a 1-year deal. And they have Kyle Trask. And honestly, I don't think either of those guys are the guy for the future for Tampa Bay. And with trying to figure out Tom Brady retiring, it's going to be rough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But also the Glazers own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I hate the Glazers because they own Manchester United as well. But that's a topic for a different day. I just don't see a lot of wins coming out of Tampa Bay. Tougher schedule, division tougher. Well, not tougher, but division is a toss-up this year. So I think Tampa Bay ends up finishing the worst. 7 wins max. I think they are going to be anywhere from 4 to 7 wins. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. And I mean, it is what it is. You're in a rebuild period with Tom Brady gone. Mike Evans probably going to be out the door next. Godwin probably out the door next. You have a good young offensive line, which is a start. But you also have to start looking elsewhere, and you really got to find your quarterback. It's going to be a battle for Caleb Williams and Drake May coming up this season, and Tampa Bay will be right in the mix. Probably with another team. Not sure who yet. I haven't gotten that far. But they're going to be in the mix of one of the worst teams in the league, along with the Washington, potentially another NFC team, which I have not discussed yet. Moving on, I think third will be the Carolina Panthers. Drafted their guy in Bryce Young. Personally, I thought that was a mistake. I think that they should have taken C.J. Stroud, and I will stick by that. C.J. Stroud, I think, was the better pick for Carolina. I think Bryce Young overall might be the better quarterback. But I think for the fit of Carolina, I think it was C.J. Stroud, especially with the head coach that they have there. Coming over from Indy, and, he likes the bigger quarterbacks. Bryce Young's not a big guy. So, I think it was a mistake, but that's their guy, and they're going to have to live with it for at least the next 4 or 5 seasons. Bryce Young, new quarterback in Carolina, the first quarterback they've taken number 1 since Cameron Newton. We all know how that worked out. That worked out pretty well for them, so they're hoping that Bryce Young is that guy. They're in a rebuild year, of course. They didn't have the worst record in the league last year, but traded with the Bears to go get their guy, as I mentioned in a lot of my mock drafts and draft predictions. Traded with the Bears for the number 1 pick. Well, in that trade with the Bears, they got a great, talented weapon in... Actually, no, they gave away a big weapon in DJ Moore, and I think that's going to end up hurting them. So, the Bears get lots of picks and a great weapon. Carolina, they got Adam Thielen, but he's kind of on his last legs. He's going to just be there for that veteran leadership. They have a great defense, though. And J.C. Horn is going to be one of the top young corners in the NFL. So if they can just continue to build around that defense and, find some offensive weapons either now or later on in the drafts, I think they'll be really good for years to come. But I think this year it's going to be much of the same. Anywhere from 6 to 8 wins, which is kind of expected for a team still in the midst of a rebuild, but they're doing things correctly. They're doing things right. I don't like how they gave up DJ Moore and a bunch of picks to move up to number 1. But when you have your guy, you go and get him no matter the cost. So Bryce Young is their guy. They went up and got him no matter the cost. And so they went and got him. Team I expect to potentially finish second. Maybe they could win the division. The New Orleans Saints. Yes, I know what you're thinking. Wow, that means you have Atlanta winning the division. I'll talk about it in a second. Saints made headwaves this offseason by trading for longtime Raiders quarterback Derek Carr and giving him a 4-year extension, so he is their guy going forward. They also still have Jameis Winston, so it's going to be interesting to see if at any point Derek Carr struggles, if Jameis Winston will take over. Jameis Winston fit in very well, I believe, with this New Orleans Saints team. Alvin Kamara suspended for the first 3 games of the season for a fight that he did the week before the Pro Bowl. I don't want to get too much into that because it irritates me that he got 3 games, yet these guys that gamble are getting 6 games to a whole year. This man literally knocks somebody out and gets 3 games, but that's the NFL. Their policies have always been backwards. Saints still have a very talented roster. They're in a tough spot. They're like the Vikings to me. If you guys watched my video 2 videos ago, you heard me say the Vikings are good enough to make a playoff run, but not a deep playoff run. I feel like the Saints are kind of in that same boat. They're kind of getting older. They're one of the older teams in the division. Good enough to make a playoff run, but not necessarily good enough, in my opinion, to make a deep playoff run. I think Derek Carr settles their quarterback problem short term. I don't know if I would have signed him to a 4-year deal, but at least short term he solves a problem of them not needing to. And then especially in a division where most of the teams are rebuilding, they think by bringing in Derek Carr they can capitalize on that and potentially make a deep playoff run. 9, 10, 11, 12 wins I think is max, just because of a weak division for the Saints. But I think about 9 or 10 games is fair for them. And then a surprise team for me, the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, they don't necessarily have a quarterback, but if Desmond Ridder is their guy going forward, I think he has all the tools to be a successful quarterback. Them getting Bijan Robinson in the first round was a bit of a surprise, but I think it'll work wonders for them. They have a nice 1-2 punch with him and Tyler Allegra or Aller, whatever his name is, from BYU just last season. I think him and Bijan Robinson would be a good punch, but Bijan Robinson can also be a wide receiver threat. So him, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts makes it easier for a quarterback to settle into things if it is Ridder or whoever they decide to go with. But I think Atlanta, one of the most improved teams in the offseason with their signings. Defensively, they're going to be much improved. And I could honestly see the Falcons winning 11 games this season. I expect them to surprise a lot of people and to be one of the most improved teams in the NFL. With that being said, there is my NFC South predictions. Probably going to be one of the worst divisions in football. Like I said, I think Tampa Bay finishes last. 4 wins is what I'll give them. 4 or 5 wins max is what I will give them. So 17 games, 4 wins. You guys do the math. That's 4-13, potentially 5-12. That's, I think, is the ceiling for Tampa Bay. Going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Carolina, 7 wins I will give them. New Orleans, they're good, not great. 8-9 wins. I'll give them 9 wins. And then Atlanta, I will give 11. So 11, 9, 6, and 4. Obviously going to be one of the worst divisions in football. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who you think is going to win the division. Was the Saints getting Derek Carr the right call, or did they overpay for him? Personally, A 2-year deal I think would have been better suited, but giving him a 4-year deal, now you're locked into him in the long term, which I don't know if necessarily that's a good call. Carolina has their quarterback of the future. Atlanta potentially does, but they have enough offensive weapons, and they did great in the offseason to make some moves. And then Tampa Bay, obviously, going to be in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. Again, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. That is my NFC South predictions, and I will catch you guys for part 4 when we discuss the final team in the the final division in the NFC, the NFC West. Maybe some surprises there, maybe not. We'll see what I have to say. That'll be coming up later, but that is my NFC South. And I'll catch you guys for the next one.